Mums will often ask me how often they need to feed their baby for, how long they need to feed their baby for, and also whether they need to feed from one side or both sides at each feed. And this will greatly depend on you and your baby. And because mums vary so greatly, I really don't believe that we can use the same rule of thumb for everybody. For instance, a mum who has an A cup breast size will probably find that she needs to feed her baby more frequently than a mum who has a G cup size. And this isn't because an A cup mum isn't going to produce enough milk for her baby throughout the day. It's just that she's going to be producing smaller portions. So a mum with smaller breasts will probably find that she needs to feed from both sides at each feed, and she may also find that she needs to feed more frequently. If your baby's feeding more frequently than you've been advised to feed, and you're finding that your baby's not following a nice 3-hourly or 4-hourly feeding pattern, and you're a small cup size, don't worry about it, because it is just, your baby is just feeding according to your anatomy, and that's absolutely fine. So mums with smaller cup sizes will often produce more than enough milk for their babies, but just produce it in smaller quantities, which means your baby needs to feed more frequently. If you're larger breasted, you might actually find that your baby only wants to feed every 4 hours. So this is absolutely fine as well. So I guess the rule of thumb here is look at your breast size and look at your baby. And if you're small and your baby's quite big, you'll probably find you need to feed from both sides. If you have a larger cup size and your baby's quite small, you'll probably find that you only need to feed from one side. We know that your baby's gaining enough weight if he's gaining 20 to 30 grams a day. So provided your baby's gaining that 20 to 30 grams a day, if you find a feeding pattern that works for both you and your baby, and he's gaining weight, then you can continue to do so because it's working for you. You don't have to follow a set pattern or a set routine. And besides, breastfed babies won't always feed to a set routine. Sometimes they'll want a little bit more, sometimes they'll want a little bit less or a little bit sooner. So with breastfeeding, try not to get too caught up in routines. The length of feed is also quite interesting because it's not the length of time that your baby is feeding for, but actually how effectively your baby is feeding. So for instance, if a baby is doing one suck before he gets enough in his mouth to swallow, you will find that his feeding will be a lot shorter. So if he's doing one suck, one swallow, one suck, one swallow, you'll probably find that your baby will feed for about 10 to 15 minutes and then go to sleep, at which point you can wind him and nappy change him and offer him the same side again. However, if your baby is doing 4 to 5 or even more sucks per one swallow, you might find that your feeds are going to be a lot longer because he's having to work a lot harder to get that milk. So rather than looking at the clock face, look at your baby. Look at how often he's swallowing. If he's not swallowing frequently, then try to do a bit of breast compression to help the milk flow a bit quicker, and this will speed up your feeds. So when you are compressing, remembering that you've got milk producing tissue all the way around the nipple, you want to be able to compress the entire breast. You've got 2 ways of compressing the breast to keep the milk flowing. One is a simple C-shape hold where you gently bunch up as much breast tissue as possible and squeeze, hold for about 20 seconds, and then move around to a different part of the breast, compress and hold. The other way that you can compress is just by simply using a flat hand that you apply to the breast and push inwards, almost as though you're pushing in towards your rib cage. Push in and hold for 10 to 20 seconds and look at your baby. If your baby starts sucking and swallowing, you don't need to compress anymore. But if your baby isn't swallowing, move to a different part of the breast, compress and hold. So compression will not only help your baby stay awake, but it will also help your baby drain the breast more effectively and more efficiently.